Hello, everyone. We're so happy you could join us today. I am Martha Reed from the Office of Multicultural Services and Programs. And today, in our series of Knows No Culture, we're going to talk about the environment, because the environment, as you can see, has no culture. I have a great lineup of guests who will be joining me today, and I'm going to let each one of them tell you who they are. Go ahead, guests.
I'm Jim Speer. I'm a professor of geography and geology in the Department of Earth and Environmental Systems.
I'm Paul Reed, the manager of custodial and special services in facilities management.
And I'm Kirby, part of the facilities management team with custodial also.
Well, I want to thank you all and welcome you to our program today. This is kind of a new and ingenuitive way to do it, but the one thing that I've tried to look across different specs is that there are many things that aren't cultural bound, and environment's one of them. And each person today is going to share a little bit about what's going on around the world with the environment and what other people are doing to save the world.
Okay, we want to make note today that Earth Day is coming up on April the 22nd. And for anyone that maybe doesn't realize, this is the 50th anniversary of Earth Day this year. Earth Day was actually founded back in 1970 by Gaylord Nelson, the U.S. Senator from Wisconsin. Actually, 20 years later in 1990, Earth Day went global. And so instead of just the United States, the whole entire globe began to celebrate Earth Day, which was truly a big plus. There's lots of environmental causes that need to be addressed, not just recycling. Things like air and water pollution, alternative energy sources, and so many other things. It is great that so many people from almost every culture is involved in preserving our environment. No matter how big or small our efforts, everyone counts. I want to mention a few countries that are doing a great job in the area of recycling and other areas as well. With a quick Google search, I found the following information. Germany had an overall 79% recycling rate in 2015, which I realize is somewhat outdated. Which was the top European Union country at the time, with Austria coming in very close in second place. The Netherlands, on the other hand, I found out has lots of rules and regulations surrounding recycling and waste management, which probably is the reason why they're really so good at what they do. But for every 2 million tons of paper and glass collected, close to 90% gets recycled and used to make new products. Mexico, on the other hand, in their PET, which is the water bottle plastic, in case you don't know, they have a recovery rate of 56%. And 70% of that amount that they recycle is used internally to make new products. So there's very little export on their part. Since we're talking about plastic recycling, did you know that it takes 500 years to decompose plastic items in the landfill? What a waste. That plastic could be used to make products instead of lying hidden underground. The US plastic bottle recycling rate was 29% in 2018. And I found out that Coca-Cola sources about 7% of its plastic from recycled material, and Nestle Waters North America uses about 6% recycled content. Producing plastic products from recycled products reduces energy consumption by about 66%. And I'm sure we've all read stories of how horrible the oceans and our beaches have become by plastic pollution. And that's one of the reasons why today I wanted to highlight the fact that plastic is such an important item to recycle. It's everyone's responsibility to recycle to help save the planet. Will you will you step up and help us by doing your part in recycling and help to make the U.S. On top of recycling overall? Please be considerate when recycling items. With the COVID-19 shelter-in-place order, I found that actually household waste has increased between 30 and 40%. And so other articles that I've been reading the last few weeks have relayed how trash collectors are just totally overwhelmed with trash at this particular time. But it's still our responsibility, even though we're at home, to do what we can to sort and to be able to collect and to save as many items as we can. So what I wanted to go back to was recycling materials need to be clean, uncontaminated, and sorted as much as possible. At our recycle center here at Indiana State University, we expect items to be sorted upon arrival or during your time here. Know what your recycle center can and will accept. Items that have no local market are unacceptable and considered trash. And I know if you're like most people, you would really like to be able to recycle everything, but the truth of the matter is that unless there's a market for it, we can't take it and save it with the hope or the wish that we'll be able to get rid of it. We actually have to have an actual active market at the time to be able to accept items. So from time to time, we may have to discontinue collecting an item, such as we had to recently, or maybe a couple of years ago, with the paper board, or the chipboard as we call it, the same as cereal boxes. So hopefully, if you're kind and considerate, we'll be able to be kind and considerate when you bring your items to us, and we'll be able to accept everything that you bring us. So again, I just want to say thanks for all that everyone does, and please do your part to make a difference in our environment today and every day.
Hi, everyone. I'm going to talk about Sweden. Sweden is one of the best recycling countries in the world. They only send 1% of their trash to the landfills. 1%. They recycle 47%, then they burn or incinerate the 52% to heat 1 million homes and provide electricity to 250,000 homes. And they do this by starting out very young. They teach their children in school how to recycle, why they should recycle, which makes life in Sweden very recycle conscious, I should say. There's even a national day on which children across the country gather to pick up litter and clean up their surroundings. So they're taught this at a very young age to do that. Also, everyone gets involved. They have waste policies in schools. They have recycling bins every 1,000 feet. So if you're out and about walking around and doing things with your family, there's a recycling bin for you to use, and it's very convenient. They also have incentives where they give the Swedish citizens discounts, vouchers as reward for using nearby recycling machines. And the biggest incentive of all, in new urban developments where they're building new homes, they are designed to channel their trash straight from waste to energy converters, which means a building is directly transformed into energy for their own homes. It's very important that we all recycle, and I'm here to talk to kids about how important it is for them to start doing it so young. There's a lot of things they can do to save water. They can take showers instead of baths. That uses less water. They can turn off the water when they brush their teeth in between brushing, and then turn it back on when they want to rinse their mouth and that out in their toothbrush. We can save trees by recycling paper, using both sides of the paper. We also can save plastic by recycling and reusing our water bottles. That's very important. Plastic is very important because we use so much of it. So in closing, I'd just like to say that children are the future, and if we teach children young how to recycle and why they should recycle, I think they will do that and they will do a very good job. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Paul and Kirby. And I know right now we're saving our recycling at home to make sure that we are able to recycle after able to take our material back out. So we're looking forward to the ISU Recycling Center opening back up so that we continue to recycle. I wanted to talk about some unexpected benefit that we're actually getting from this COVID-19 virus right now. We're actually running a large experiment worldwide where we are seeing a reduction in pollution. So I wanted to show some slides from that. So this is, COVID-19 is causing terrible trouble throughout the world. And just this morning, we're passing over 2 million cases of COVID-19 throughout the world. And countries throughout the world have been shutting down transportation in those areas where we haven't had car transports. We haven't been doing as much burning of fossil fuels overall. And what we're seeing is this great reduction in pollution. So this is an interesting experiment. And we hope to be able to continue this when the economy starts back up and we go back to our normal circumstances, driving around and working through the country. We hope to be able to see this maintenance of this reduction in pollution. So I want to show some maps of this reduction. So this is in China. This is from Global Food, Environment, and Economic Dynamics publication. And you can see that around Beijing in China, how much the pollution has been reduced. And you can see Wuhan on the map as well. That's also been reduced, but mainly this Beijing pollution reduction. And this is from January through February. With another source, from the Atlantic, they actually talk about many different things, including the reduction of pollution, but they also show that seismic meters have really shown the quieting of the planet. Without as much traffic running around, we actually see less noise and less activity, which is interesting to see. The planet is actually getting this kind of relaxation, this relief from the stress of noise and action of our cars on the roads and also of shipping lanes, which are showing some sea animals getting some relief as well. This article also talks about reduction in pollution. One study by Marshall Burke in Stanford studied cities in China and actually found that 4,000 children and 73,000 elderly adults over a 2-month period, their lives were actually saved due to this reduction in pollution throughout China. This is happening throughout the world. This is the European Space Agency imagery has shown this, the lockdown has reduced pollution. So in Paris and in the top right corner, you can see in Germany how much this pollution has been reduced from March 2019 last year to March this year. So you can see that reduction in pollution, the reduction in red. And then zooming into Italy, you can see in northern Italy, this reduction in pollution around Milan and Venice over to the right side. And reductions in Rome and Naples as well. So a lot of reduction in pollution. coming into the United States, we also see a large reduction in pollution. So the map across the entire US, the dark blue is the amount, and this pollution that I'm talking about is nitrous oxide, NO2, and also we also see a reduction in small particulate matter that can cause problems for breathing. So you can see across the eastern United States how much pollution is there, and then this reduction in pollution with this shutdown. So if I go back and forth between these two maps, you can see all over the country how we've reduced the pollution in the atmosphere just through this shutdown period. Zooming into home, this is around Chicago, and in the bottom right, you can see Indianapolis as well, and you can see some reduction there. So Chicago still has quite a bit of pollution, and that pollution spreads across the countryside, but you can see that effect from Chicago to Indianapolis, and again, this reduction in pollution. So COVID-19 is a major issue. It is a lot of problem, but we do see this kind of one benefit where we have this reduction in pollution associated with it. So Martha, I'll turn it back to you and just leave it here with our contact information if anybody has any questions.
Jim, I'm gonna hop in for my part here. But thank you. That is just amazing to see how, even though human life has been affected by this virus, how Earth life is beginning to heal because of it. So hopefully this will make people more aware, you know, and be more careful when we get back to the new normal. But the one thing that I wanted to share about, and I'll let Jim unview his screen here a minute. Thank you, Jim. What I wanted to share today is that, let's face it, plastic bags are everywhere, right? We had a friend that used to call them the urban tumbleweed. They're in Africa, they call them their state flower because they're hanging in trees and in bushes. And we need to start reducing these. Now, a lot of countries have taken an effort to start banning them, have gone to cloth or regular plastic. But, you know, when we go along in the United States, we'll see them on the roads, we see them in streams. And when you see these in a stream, they're a beautiful breeding ground for mosquitoes. So if you can do your part to reuse these any way that you can. Now, I don't know if you're like us, but we use these at home in our little trash receptacles and for little things, and we try to reuse them as much as we can. The other problem that we face in the world today is these. 800 million of these single-use plastic bottles are sold every day, and they don't degrade very rapidly. But thanks in part to a few countries, they've come up with ways to make these recyclable. They're making them out of potatoes and corn, which now only takes between 90 to 185 days to decompose. If you use these, and they don't recommend that you reuse bottles, and I know some people do, but try to make an effort, if you can, not to. Now, in some countries, New Zealand, Germany, Italy, this is trendy to have a water bottle, and you are not cool if you don't have your water bottle. And I know a lot of times people at home are having trouble with there's Jim with his. You know, I've heard a lot of people say, but Martha, we're running out of space for our recycle at home. Not just you, Jim, I heard it from several other people. Yeah. One of the simplest things that you can do is, in the old days, if you remember, for us younger generation, is that we used to crush these. So just take your plastic and crush it. Paul does this all the time, and I try to remember to do this as well. Cool. But make an effort, because like I said, a lot of countries around the world, Africa, South Africa, Asia, Europe, there's about 15 countries, Australia now, that have banned the use of a lot of these single-use products. But we need to find new ways to use them. But isn't this a lot better if you can crush these and save your space on those? But try to make an effort, get your trendy water bottles and be cool, like the cool recycling kids. I bet Kirby, you will probably agree with me on this too, won't you? Isn't it cool to have a recycle bottle? Yeah.
Yes, I have several.
I've seen some of your cool recycle ones. Kirby. They're cool. But try to do your part. You know, around the world, people beautiful things. And, you know, and some of the best ideas are coming from children now. There was a young girl in, don't quite remember the country, and I apologize for that, but she made a water heater for her village. There's another young man that his story is on Netflix now, that he made a pump out of all this recycled material to bring water to his village. So when some of the things that we take for granted here in the United States, remember other people across the world are trying to figure out ways to bring that water that we just so openly bring from the tap. Another great economy saver, and people are doing this around the world, is that when you brush your teeth or do other things like that, shut the water off. Because I've seen a commercial now on TV where 4 or 5 people could have got a drink of water by the time that you're finished brushing your teeth with the faucet running. So be conscious of that, and let's take flight with what other countries are doing around the world, because we need to do a lot of catching up because we're still far behind in the fight to save the planet. We only have one Mother Earth, and it's not ours. It's a gift, and we have to keep that gift going because we have children and grandchildren and the future to give this to. So join me, the Indiana State University Recycling Center, our Earth Environmental Health Department, and around the globe, and let's try to help save our beautiful planet, Mother Earth. And Kirby, did you want to share something?
Yes. Can I?
Yes, you
Here I
can.
go. It's the fun part.
Kirby is doing the Earth Day dance.
Y'all need to recycle. Please recycle. If you see the bottom of my trash can, it says reduce, reuse, recycle, and respect. That's my boss's favorite word, respect. And if we all respect the earth, we will recycle. It's very important. Thank you, Miss Martha.
Thank you, Kirby. Thank you, Paul. Thank you, Jim. I really appreciate all that you've done today to try to get this program going. Even though we've Zoomed it, we still hopefully can get this message out. And I'll have Jim, if you want to go ahead and put contact information back up. If you have any questions about today's program, or you have any questions about any of our departments, please don't hesitate to give us it's best probably now to email because a lot of people are working from home. And Paul, did you want to share a little bit about anything else with the recycle center?
I'll just make mention that hopefully in the very near future we'll be open back up and be able to accept those items that people have so diligently collected. Just be patient. We'll open up just as soon as possible. And again, I would just remind people to try to have things as sorted as possible, and don't be surprised if there are a few things that we ask you to take back home with you if we're not accepting them at this time. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. And please join us all in wishing Earth Day a happy 50th birthday next week, even though we can still do things in our own way. And thank you so much again for joining us and taking the time to listen to our little part of Environment Knows No Culture. Thank you. Take care, everyone.
Bye.
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 Happy Earth Day.
Happy Earth Day.
Happy Earth Day. Woo!
Okay, Jim, I think that I've paused it, I hope.
It says still recording. I don't
Okay.
know. Is there a stop?